Nevertheless, some theoretical teaching is necessary as the basis for the practical work of spiritual training. With the Maharshi, this took the form of non-duality in complete accordance with the teachings of the great sage Shankara. The agreement does not, however, mean that Bhagavan was, as a philosopher would put it, influenced by Shankara, merely that the recognized Shankara's teaching as a true exposition of what he had realized and knew by direct knowledge. The World, Real or Illusion by Ramana Maharshi. Is Bhagavan's teaching the same as Shankara's? Bhagavan's teaching is an expression of his own experience and realization. Others find that it tallies with Sri Shankara's. When the Upanishads say that all is Brahman, how can we agree with Shankara that this world is illusory? Shankara also said that this world is Brahman or the self. What he objected to is one's imagining that the self is limited by the names and forms that constitute the world. He only said that the world has no reality apart from Brahman. Brahman, or the self, is like a cinema screen, and the world like the pictures on it. You can see the picture only so long as there is a screen. But when the observer himself becomes the screen, only the self remains. Shankara has been criticized for his philosophy of Maya, illusion. Without understanding his meaning, he made three statements: that Brahman is real, that the universe is unreal, and that Brahman is the universe. He did not stop with the second. The third statement explains the first two. It signifies that when the universe is perceived apart from Brahman, that perception is false and illusory. What it amounts to is that phenomena are real when experienced as the self and illusory when seen apart from the self. The self alone exists and is real. The world, the individual, and God are, like the illusory appearance of silver in the mother of pearl, imaginary creations in the self. They appear and disappear simultaneously. Actually, the self alone is the world, the I, and God. All that exists is only a manifestation of the Supreme. What is reality? Reality must always be real. It has no names or forms, but is what underlies them. It underlies all limitations, being itself limitless. It is not bound in any way. It underlies unrealities, being itself real. It is that which is. It is as it is. It transcends speech and is beyond description, such as being or non-being. He would not be entangled in apparent disagreements, due merely to a different viewpoint or mode of expression. They say that the world is created by divine energy, Shakti. Is the knowledge of unreality due to the veiling by illusion, Maya? All admit creation by the divine energy, but what is the nature of this energy? It must be in conformity with the nature of its creation. Are there degrees of illusion? Illusion itself is illusory. It must be seen by somebody outside it, but how can such a seer be subject to it? So, how can he speak of degrees of it? You see various scenes passing on a cinema screen. Fire seems to burn buildings to ashes. Water seems to wreck ships. But the screen on which the pictures are projected remains unburnt and dry. Why? Because the pictures are unreal and the screen real. Similarly, reflections pass through a mirror, but it is not affected at all by their number or quality. In the same way, the world is a phenomenon upon the substratum of the single reality, which is not affected by it in any way. Reality is only one. Talk of illusion is due only to the point of view. Change your viewpoint to that of knowledge, and you will perceive the universe to be only Brahman. Being now immersed in the world, you see it as a real world. Get beyond it, and it will disappear, and reality alone will remain. As the last excerpt shows, the postulate of one universal reality calls for the conception of a process, either of illusion or creation, to explain the apparent reality of the world. The world is perceived as an apparent objective reality when the mind is externalized, thereby abandoning its identity with the self. When the world is thus perceived, the true nature of the self is not revealed. Conversely, when the self is realized, the world ceases to appear as an objective reality. That is illusion, which makes one take what is ever-present and all-pervasive, full to perfection and self-luminous, and is indeed the self and the core of one's being, for non-existent and unreal. Conversely, that is illusion, which makes one take for real and self-existent what is non-existent and unreal, namely the trilogy of world, ego, and God. The world is indeed real, but not as an independent, self-subsistent reality. Just as a man you see in a dream is real as a dream figure, but not as a man. To those who have not realized the self, as well as to those who have, the world is real. But to the former, truth is adapted to the form of the world, whereas to the latter, truth shines as the formless perfection in the substratum of the world. This is the only difference between them. As I recalled Bhagavan saying, sometimes that unreal, mithya, imaginary, and real, satyam, mean the same, but did not quite understand, I asked him about it. He said, "Yes, I do sometimes say that." "What do you mean by real? What is it that you call real?" I answered, "According to Vedanta, only that which is permanent and unchanging can be called real. That is the meaning of reality." Then Bhagavan said, "The names and forms which constitute the world continually change and perish, and are therefore called unreal. It is unreal, imaginary, to limit the self to these names and forms, and real to regard all as the self." The non-dualist says that the world is unreal, but he also says all this is Brahman. So it is clear that what he condemns is regarding the world as objectively real in itself, not regarding it as Brahman. He who sees the self alone in the world also. It is immaterial to the enlightened whether the world appears or not. In either case, his attention is turned to the self. It is like the letters in the paper on which they are printed. You are so engrossed in the letters that you forget about the paper, but the enlightened sees the paper as the substratum, whether the letters appear on it or not. This is still more succinctly stated as follows. The Vedantins do not say that the world is unreal. That is a misunderstanding. If they did, what would be the meaning of the Vedantic text? All this is Brahman. They only mean that the world is unreal as world, but real as self. If you regard the world as non-self, it is not real. Everything, whether you call it illusion, maya, or divine play, lila, or energy, shakti, must be within the self, and not apart from it. Before leaving the theory of the world as a manifestation of the self, devoid of objective reality, it must be stressed once again that theory had importance for the Maharshi only insofar as it helped a man's spiritual development, not for its own sake. Cosmology, as understood in modern physical science, simply did not concern him. The Vedas contain conflicting accounts of cosmogony. Ether is said to be the first creation in one place, vital energy in another, water in another, something else in another. How can all this be reconciled? Does it not impair the credibility of the Vedas? Different seers saw different aspects of truth at different times, each emphasizing some viewpoint. Why do you worry about their conflicting statements? The essential aim of the Vedas is to teach us the nature of the imperishable self and show us that we are that. About that part, I am satisfied. Then treat all the rest as auxiliary arguments or as expositions for the ignorant who want to know the origin of things. Major Chadwick was copying out the English translation of the Tamil Kaivalya Navanitha when he came across some of the technical terms in it, which he had difficulty in understanding. He accordingly asked Bhagavan about them, and Bhagavan replied, "These portions deal with theories of creation. They are not essential because the real purpose of the scriptures is not to set forth such theories. They mention the theories casually, so that those readers who wish to may take interest in them. The truth is that the world appears as a passing shadow in a flood of light. Light is necessary even to see the shadow. The shadow is not worth any special study, analysis, or discussion." The purpose of the book is to deal with the self, and what is said about creation may be omitted for the present. Later, Sri Bhagavan continued, "Vedanta says that the cosmos springs into view simultaneously with him who sees it, and there is no detailed process of creation. It is similar to a dream, where he who experiences the dream arises simultaneously with the dream he experiences. However, some people cling so fast to objective knowledge that they are not satisfied when told this. They want to know how sudden creation can be possible and argue that an effect must be preceded by a cause. In fact, they desire an explanation of the world that they see about them. Therefore, the scriptures try to satisfy their curiosity by such theories. This method of dealing with the subject is called the theory of gradual creation, but the true spiritual seeker can be satisfied with instantaneous creation.